Welcome back to That Rugby podcast, hosted by the Rugby Booth. I am Luke. That is Hughesy. Look, 1 from 2 over the weekend. We had the potential to go 2 from 2, but my All Blacks blew it. We will discuss that.
Well, I went 2 from 2. I picked the Wallabies and South Africa to win. So,
well, yeah. Look. Let's get into it first. Let's start with the first game. My All Blacks against the Springboks. Now, there's obviously a lot to unpack from this game. And I'm going to keep a couple, like the negative points, very brief. Obviously, the refereeing's been highlighted. The TMO has been highlighted purely. The first try, which to me looks like a knock-on, to I think most of the world looks like a knock-on. I don't know how it doesn't get reviewed. It doesn't get reviewed. Yeah. I don't know if you can sit here and say, look, it changes the game that much because, again, we're on our own 5-metre line scrum. You don't know what happens after that. You can't sit here and ponder on that. So, look, we can say it should have been reviewed. That's about all us All Blacks fans can complain about with that one. Should have been reviewed. The refereeing as a whole, I didn't think was fantastic for the game. As a whole for the game. Like, I don't want to go too much into... I think the spectacle of the game was great. I think the refereeing was poor. I don't think it necessarily disadvantaged the All Blacks. Like, we gave away more penalties because we put ourselves in position to give away more penalties, but I don't like how the game was interpreted, I should say.
Yeah, I think... with that try, but then you can also look at the Sam Cane high contact. Like, what you're really taken away from is the TMO was largely absent from the game, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I have to say, I think it's really big to say that first try, how much impact would that have had? They could have gone on to score another try afterwards. Yeah, I agree, and I think there's, there are always moments in games that get missed, even if you have the TMO heavily involved. I think it's probably preferable to have the TMO less involved. And for that Sam Cane high contact, assess that after the game. If that is, I guess I kind of like the rugby league system of the on report and then he gets banned for the next match kind of thing. I know for me, because I always hate when we're playing shorthanded, when there's yellows and reds involved. Put him on report. If it's found to be more than just high contact, it's found to be dangerous or whatnot. I guess what I'd say about that is it's not. We don't want to see the World Cup final where it's a red card and a team's playing from one man down the entire time, and it really takes away from the spectacle of the game. I think the referees and I think we've said this before, the referees are there to do their job. The referees' calls should be the calls, and then the TMO should only get involved if the referee asks them to get involved. So that's with the Sam Cane high contact one. That's where I stand on. The TMO didn't get involved because the referee didn't ask them to get involved. I would prefer the procedure went that way rather than the TMO coming in saying, "Oh, ref, actually, we've got to show you this." Leave it. Just let the referee call the game. And that empowers the referee to make calls as well. I think it's like putting a bit of power back in the referee's hands and not, sort of constantly being babysat by the TMO. I prefer it that way. Look, there were salty fans from both sides about the things that the TMO didn't get involved in. But really, what we've been seeing for the years before this is people getting upset by how much the TMO has been getting involved. So really, it's kind of, you can't have it both ways, and I would prefer it this way, that the game is called by the referee and the TMO is a backup for the referee if he requires it. Not the TMO is an extra official that is also calling the game alongside the referee. So is it really, you have two referees in the game. You've got the referee on the field and the TMO. I don't like that. The referee should be the referee. The TMO should be a tool of the referee, not another official.
Yeah, I like that thinking. I think I would just add the nuance that the NFL has where every scoring play gets reviewed.
And same with the NRL. That's why NRL does that.
So I would add that. But again, I don't think you can sit here and say it changes the game, but I don't know if it changed the game enough. And again, as we said, if the Sam Cane tackle was reviewed and so on and so forth. And again, with the refereeing, I'm not going to go too deep into it just because I think the South Africans play, the breakdown is the most impressive part of the game the South Africans have. Like, I watched that and I was like, the way, and this is their physical dominance, like, let's not hide away from that fact. The way that they carry into the breakdown and then force players into positions where they can't roll away, and that's because they've been on the back foot, they haven't made a dominant tackle, and then they're trapped, and then they can't roll away. And it just paints a picture for the referee. And that happened all the time. And that's not against the referee to not make those decisions, because he has to make those decisions. I just didn't like the flow of the game either. I thought it ruined a really good test match. Now, let's switch this onto, obviously, I couldn't be more confident of an All Blacks win last week. Look, we didn't win, all right? But there was a point there at 27-17 where I was like, I am sitting pretty. We are wrapping this up. And that's where I want to start the problems. Because people are going to talk about the bomb squad, but I don't think the bomb squad made as much as an impact as people were saying. I think the All Blacks lost this game, and this is a historic moment in the All Blacks kind of journey right now. Because normally we're the ones doing what South Africa did to us, where if we're down by 10 points, we find ways to win. We win in second half. We beat you down. We break you down. And that just didn't happen. Like, we were up 27-17 on the attack with a line out, lost the line out, or I don't know if we lost the line out, but ended up losing the ball, gave away 2 penalties. South Africa went down and scored, ended up, scoring and winning game. Again, and I go, that's not very New Zealand or All Black like. Like, in our history of rugby, we don't lose games. You know what I mean? We normally go and win them. And that was what I noticed there. I sat there and I went, we're up 10 points over South Africa. And this is, I want to highlight is this as well. Like, the reason why I'm not too salty about this loss as much as I could be is the fact that there was a lot more people writing us off. And when I looked at us and we were 10 points up, I was like, this South African team is beatable. And I went in 2 weeks ago thinking they weren't beatable, to then changing my tune to obviously backing my All Blacks and going, we are going to win this game, to then obviously coming up to the point where I think we should have won that game. I sit there and I think we should have. But as we always say, good teams find a way. And I think this is that South African style at the moment. They're a good team. They're a very, very good team. You don't just get wins against a team like the Springboks teams at the moment. And as I've said before, it's that essence of 2011, 2015 All Blacks team where they're so hard to go and beat. You can't just get an easy win. You've got to beat them. We had an opportunity to beat them and we blew it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and what I'll say as well is that there was a stat I saw, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like the All Blacks in their last 8 games or so, maybe less than 8 games, but around that number, less than double digits, haven't scored in the last 20 minutes. Or it's maybe his last 6 games, maybe his last 8 games against South Africa, I'm not sure. But you're right, you're absolutely right. In these test matches where the All Blacks have been going up against Australia, how many heartbreaks have we seen where New Zealand scored right at the end of the game to win it, to steal that win? But the shoe was on the other foot here. Look, I didn't get to watch the whole game. I've only seen the highlights. I guess I'd say, what looking at this New Zealand team, where have they got to improve to be able to beat South Africa? What do they need to change between this test match and the next one to beat South Africa?
Not a lot. Like, I think, and everyone was praising Beauden Barrett, and he had a good game with ball in hand, but everywhere else I thought he was miserable, absolutely terrible. Kicked about 3 or 4 balls out in the last 2 minutes, kicked about 2 balls into pointless kicks. I think we had, again, and it comes back to this with the All Blacks, we had too many pointless kicks. And when we win our kicking game, again, when we were up 27-17, we were winning the kicking duel. And then we started to kind of get away from that. And then the second biggest point is discipline. I think we doubled their penalty count. I think we gave away 17-18 to their 8 penalties. And you can say that's, as you've said, like getting on the right side of the referee, doing the right things. I mean, TJ Perenara, as much as I love him, gave away a penalty early in the game for having to go at the ref because the player wasn't rolling away. And it should have been a non-rolling away penalty. I don't think the ref was going to call that, and then in the end we're on attack and they're 22. It turns around. So if we even meet their penalty count, we win that game. To me, so this is the great thing I look at. There's not a lot we have to change to beat what is considered the best team in the world. You know what I mean? In South Africa, in a hostile environment, and people were talking shit. Like Scotty Stevenson, one of the All Black commentators, was having a go at Razzie because they'd obviously marked Etzebeth out, and then Etzebeth came back in, and I'm like, I'm not bothered by that. Like, if a player's ruled out and you slightly change your preparation and then he's ruled back in, you should know enough about one of the best players in the world to know how he plays the game. Like that's all. And everyone, he was calling out Razzie for it and saying he's controlling and this. I'm like, this is part of the game. We want characters. I love the fact that Razzie and Razor have kind of gone head to head with this idea. I love that. People are calling out the crowd for being loud during the haka, and I'm like, that's as much as we want. I respect the haka. When teams do different things to the haka, it does bring an essence of, oh shit, we're on here. And when you had the crowd singing and getting loud during our moment, it's like, okay, fucking, this is a game. And to me, I don't take it as a sign of disrespect. I take it as a sign of respect as a New Zealander. And I know I'm not Māori, so I don't want to overstep my boundary here. But I go, they are trying to stop something that they think gives us an advantage. And they're scared of what we're doing to try and, make a noise out. I love it. I love the fact.
It's a war cry, the haka. Right? When in battle, do you think the other army was silent when the war cry was happening? No, like that you would doing their own war cry back. And that's the whole thing. Is you got to give yourself the mental edge. And look, we want crowds at rugby, and crowds influence games. There are, I think the crowd noise is fine. I think maybe the DJ coming on and the fireworks and all that probably wasn't appropriate from the stadium organizers, but I think that was just a mistake, not deliberate, and shit happens. It happens, I think if that was deliberate, that's another story, and that's not okay. Like, at that point, look, it's for either the players or the crowd to respond to the haka. As we've seen so many times, how famous is that Owen Farrell smirk from looking at the haka, the Wallabies advancing to meet it, but not going quite that far. But then England coming all the way up. All these different ways that teams have responded to the haka. The Pacific nations doing their own war cries and things like that. But it shouldn't be in the hands of the stadium organizers and the officials. It should be the players in the crowd, right? Because sort of once it's when the game's on, it's theirs at that point. People have paid their money to be there. The players have earned their way to be there. Like, it's their experience, and it's up to them to do it. And that's why how so many organic, beautiful things can come out of it. Like even the Rassie chants, he's in your head, to the tune of Zombie. Like, that's great stuff to come out of it. Aussie singing Waltzing Matilda at games and things like that. There's so many different things that the crowds can just come up with organically that stadium organizers, it's not the same effect. It's not the same. So just leave that alone. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Speaking though of good games, Wallabies versus Argentina. I've never been so stressed out in my life as those final 5 minutes. Oh my God, let me tell you. But let's start at the beginning. It's appropriate we start at the beginning with a front rower, the King Angus Bell. I am so happy to see this man back in Wallabies colours, back looking fit and healthy. And man, what a one-man army for the Wallabies. Huge carries, huge tackles. And that was the thing as well. His tackling, his defence was equally as important as his carries. But man, just what a human wrecking ball of an individual, getting some key turnovers. But all round, I think this was a really good effort by the forward pack in stages. There were patches where it was inconsistent. But you can see what having a front row of Bell and Tupou looks like. What a difference that is. Lukan Salakaia-Loto, who I'd been critical of, I hadn't been 100% sold on, and had a fantastic game. Had one of the better games I'd seen him play. Carlo Tizzano is playing Fraser McWright out of a jersey. He is. Fraser McWright, through no fault of his own, through injury, is losing his spot. But how fantastic is that to have two sevens who can actually play at that level? Harry Wilson, great captain. Where there was barely any interaction with the referee. That's a great captaincy right there. I guess you have to also look at who wasn't there. The usual suspects weren't there. Nick White, Hunter Paisami. I don't like being overly critical, but you have to just sometimes just look at, okay, well, when these guys aren't here, we have better success. There's maybe something about that game that doesn't mesh with the way that we want to play. Look, there's work still to be done, obviously, from a fly half perspective. But I just don't think there's many options past Noah. I think he's still got to improve. And I saw a tweet about this as well. You could say that Noah isn't great at the moment and still needs to improve his game, and still recognize that he's the best fly half option that the Wallabies have. Both things can be true, and that is the truth right there. But the only where he's going to improve is if the team improves around him, and if he keeps playing these games and learning from them. Obviously Hamish Stewart looked fantastic in his debut. Perhaps an argument. Perhaps an argument there to be made about letting players develop a bit more before handing them a debut, but you don't not always afforded that luxury. But what a player to come in. Even if Hunter Paisami is healthy again, I don't want to see him in a 12 jersey. I liked what Hamish Stewart brought there. I'm basically running through all the players, but Len Ikitau. There's so many indictments of Eddie Jones's tenure, but how about not including a healthy Len Ikitau in your Rugby World Cup squad just because he missed some of the Rugby Championship games? Like, far out, for having to see Geordie Pattaya make so many useless kicks in the Rugby World Cup to having an actual competent outside centre is fantastic. Look, I don't want to say too much more. We missed some kicks in that game, but we did enough to win, and that is the important thing, is coming out of it with a win. It's scrappy, it's dirty, it's ugly, and I've said so many comments, but they only beat Argentina. It was just Argentina. Why are we celebrating so much? Dude, like what Joe Schmidt said, in this Rugby Championship, we've got 3 out of the 4 semi-finals from last Rugby World Cup. Argentina just beat New Zealand in New Zealand, right? They're the 6th ranked nation in the world, right? This is not your dad's Argentina, right? This is not even your older brother's Argentina. This is a legit competitive squad that can take games and win competitions, win tournaments, win championships against the best in the world, right? In an extremely hostile environment. I don't think people appreciate just how difficult it is to play in South America. We're talking about the hostile crowds there in South Africa giving them an edge. Argentina, they're like that, but times 2. From the infamous laser in the face a few years ago, pranking teams at the hotel and pulling their firearms and stuff. It's not an easy environment to play in. With that rain driving down as well, look, the little things are getting better, and that it's building the foundation. It's slow going, but that's what you need to establish a solid program. And it's always better to win, to learn with a win rather than a loss. And there are a lot of positives to take out of that game. So yeah, feeling good this week. Yeah,
totally. And I sat there and I watched it. And yeah, I have a lot of the same thoughts. Obviously, that front row is just incredible. Angus Bell, fucking human wrecking ball, and just incredible. I sat there and watched, and as I watched and saw Hamish Stewart, and again, Hamish Stewart did so well. Wasn't so much, he didn't stand out in the game, but he did so much of the little things well. And it stuck with me that what you said, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago is Hunter Paisami, through no fault of his own, but holding back Len Ikitau's ability. And all of a sudden we see Hamish Stewart go in there, and Ikitau has probably one of his, if not best performance in a 13 in the gold jersey. So I go, has this unlocked that? And then I remember, and again, the last 5 minutes, I'm normally never one to cheer on a Wallabies player, but when Noah Lolesio hit that gap and went through and then delivered what was a pretty damn good 15-metre pass to, I think it was Max Jorgensen, who was 22 or 23 on the wing, and then they dropped it.
Yes,
but
that's
again,
right, yeah.
Again, wet conditions, but I just was like, that is your rocks and diamonds with Lola Lucia. 5 minutes before that, he shanked a shit kick into the middle of the field and put Argentina back on the attack. Then all of a sudden he's breaking the line and running 60 metres, delivering a dot as well. So I went, everything you're kind of saying, I'm like, all of this is happening. And I think even the best players for you haven't stood up to their full ability yet. You think about the Rob Valentini's, he's consistent, but he hasn't lived up to what he was doing in the Wallabies jersey last year. Marika Korobiti didn't have one of his better games. So it's not your usual suspects winning you games, and it's the whole team, as we've said. I think I read a stat this morning. It was Tizano, Salakai Lotu, and someone else, maybe Harry Wilson. All 3 of them didn't miss a single tackle in that game. And I just sat there and I was like, that is, this Joe Schmidt coaching arc is starting with defence. And I said it when you guys played those first games against Wales and Georgia. The defence looks so much better. The line speed looks so much better. The want to hurt somebody or hit somebody looks so much better for the Wallabies. So, look, lots of good improvements. Hey, and as you said, this isn't your dad's Argentina. This is your first rugby championship win in 8 games. You know, you went winless last year, and then even the year before that, it was, I think, way back when you beat in Argentina, maybe. So I go, let's not take this for granted that this is a big win for the Wallabies against Argentina.
Look, I want to shout out another player as well. I talked a little bit about Harry Wilson, but that try-saving strip of the ball right on the goal line to force a knock-on, just incredible. Saved the game, literally saved the game right there. You know, Wilson has had his critics, and, you know, sometimes rightfully earned, but look, he stood up in this game as the captain. He did what he needed to do, and you know, he didn't have that adverse relationship with the referee that we so often seen from captains. Just a what we needed, a steady hand at the tiller, you know.
Steady the ship, as we refer to Kane Williamson, who was the great Black Caps captain. I will say as well, we're looking at this. This is, you are, you know, a minute away on the goal line, non-penalty, away from Argentina picking up another very good win in the Rugby Championship. So, again, Argentina are not far off beating anybody in this Rugby Championship. And you've got to think, they've got a new coach. They're in this, like, mini rebuild. We know it was Creevy's last game for Argentina, who's been a massive servant for them, over 100 games for them. So, I go, look, Argentina, right where they are, this whole Rugby Championship, it is really any team can beat anyone. And we've seen that with, you know, the last games, these past rounds, 5 points in the difference or whatever it is between the two teams of 2 games. So, you know, that's an average of 2.5 points win. So it's fascinating. And let's move into our predictions for coming forward this round. And because I think, you know, while we're on that topic, there is another week. We get another week to back it up. Now, I'm going to start with the All Blacks and the Springboks. Round 2, look, they took round 1. But saying all this, after the loss and after last week where I had never been more confident, I am now never more confident in an All Blacks victory. There is no doubt in my mind that we go and we win this week. And the reason is we were this close. They now lose Kurtley Ardenser. They lose Sio Kolesi, most likely. I think we are going to learn from our mistakes and our discipline. I think the South Africans didn't make a lot of mistakes and they only just stole that game. So I think the All Blacks go into South Africa, get one from one, do what the Irish do, and we run away with 1 victory, all right? You know, Razor is going to learn, and this is his first time coaching a international team. He's going to learn from his mistakes. He's going to get in Razzie's head, and we're going to come away from a win, and I will sign, seal, deliver it.
Look, it's tough. I think you might have swayed me. I think I'm on the All Blacks train this week. I think I am. I don't know. It's tough. History is against the All Blacks here. They've lost to South Africa 6 times in a row now, I think. Something. It's a big run against New Zealand at the moment. But yeah, I think the All Blacks came close enough in that game, and like the Wallabies, they're building as well. You know, it's a new coach, new system. I think they can do it. So I'm gonna back the All Blacks this week.
Come on, Hughes.
And Zach Pride.
From you. Yep, love that. Your Wallabies, can they make it 2 from 2 in Argentina?
You know what I'm going to say. The Wallabies obviously are going to win this game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be gritty. But we can every single game they've played, they've built on. You know, they were absolutely walloped in that first test against South Africa. The halftime of the second test, it was very close. They could have been even ahead at that point. Against Argentina, we've obviously seen what they've been learning. They've made the personnel switches they need to make. Taniela Tupou being back in is huge, along with Angus Bell. Right, they're critical to Wallabies' success. So yeah, I think the Wallabies will go in and take it.
Yeah, look, It's hard. Like, I think it's going to be another close game, and I think you're always lucky to get out of Argentina with 2 wins.
Yeah.
But I think luck is now on your side. I think you've, again, hit a point. I sat there and watched that game, and I think I think the Wallabies are actually the better team in this. I think they are. And I think if you can implement what Smith is putting out there, if you win the kicking game, and that's big against Argentina. Like, I watched that last 15 minutes, I thought Argentina were going to steal it because I think you started to lose the kicking game.
Yeah.
If you beat them at the kicking game, I think you beat Argentina. And I think you're going to get it down. I think you're going to get another one over them. I think it's going to be same type of situation. We're going to be on the edge of our seat for the last 5 minutes. I don't think you take anything for granted against this Argentina team in Argentina, but I'm jumping on the Anzac spirit as well. I think it's 2 from 2 for us. We're going to be coming to next week's podcast absolutely amped up.
We need some happy boys.
Yeah. Talking about a happy story, Hughesy.
Yes. So too often on this podcast, we and not because we choose to be, but just because of the state of rugby, we can be quite negative. So I wanted to shine a spotlight today on a very positive story I saw on the ABC website, and we'll link this in our Instagram or on the YouTube, wherever. I'll leave it in Luke's very capable hands for that. But the Trafalgar Tigers in the Blue Mountains were a rugby club struggling a few years ago, but thanks to the Pacific Australia Labour Mobility Scheme, also known as PALM, quite a few Pacific Islanders are filling in labour shortages throughout Australia. I think about 30,000, and a few of them were in the Blue Mountains. And it's one of those tales of serendipity. The coach of the team was walking along the street, bumped into some of these Pacific Islanders who were working in the aged care system. They got to talking. He talked about how the rugby club was struggling for players. Next thing he knows, 2 vans full of Islanders show up at training and volunteer for the team. Now they're in throughout the community, volunteering at the games, volunteering with transport, playing, and just an incredible story. And lifted the Tigers to some success as well. And it just highlights the great things about that rugby and sports in general can do for communities. Bringing people together who have travelled far from home in a new, strange country, becoming part of the community, people meeting each other out and about, people from different socioeconomic backgrounds who may not necessarily mix, getting together, but then also getting that culture from overseas and bringing it into new communities, into new places, shining a light on it and adding to places. It's not replacing, which we see so many times in such terrible media. They're coming in and taking over our places and putting their stuff in place of ours. No, they're coming in and adding to it. It's like when you paint a wall, or when you paint anything really, you got to do it in layers, right? It's just adding and adding to it overall till you get a beautiful picture, It's like cakes as well, like ogres have got layers, and that's what this is, right? You're just adding more layers to it,
like an onion.
and I think like an onion or a parfait. So I just think it's a really beautiful story. The players all gather in a circle after the game and sing hymns, and we've both played in subbies rugby in Sydney, and we saw that quite often with the Pacific Islander players that we played against and with. And I think it's just really beautiful to see, and it's one of the things I read in the story is that the Tigers were almost on the verge of folding, and it's really when your club is struggling and you need to bow out, it really puts pressure on the whole competition, and it can become almost a domino effect. And this is what we're afraid of, I think, in Super Rugby Pacific happening as well. Right, so maybe this is what rugby union needs to start doing probably a bit more, is getting into these youth and community programs, getting into those communities, encouraging them to get their kids involved in rugby and building those development programs and targeting the Pacific Islander players. Why not? They're here. They're just as Australian as you or I. If they well, I guess me, or you and I, the metaphorical you podcast listener listening to this, and if they decide to stay here and set down roots and meet all the requirements, so why not get them involved? Why not build the game up that way? Why not add another layer to our beautiful picture and not just keep it concentrated? There's always the knock on rugby union that it is a private schoolboy sport. From having played rugby union in Woiwoi up the Central Coast and also here for an old boys team, I'll tell you the people playing for both teams very, very similar, right? There is, and that's the beautiful thing about it is you could be a old private school boy, you could be a labourer, you could be anyone. When you're on a rugby team, you're just a rugby player, right? There were people from all backgrounds that I played with at those two clubs, and it was absolutely fantastic. So it's not a private school boy game at all. It is for anyone and everyone. And yeah, look, a really great story. I encourage people to read it. There's more depth in the story as well about the impacts of this. And I think it's just something positive to be shared and spread. And hey, look, Rugby Australia, we're coming up with good ideas all the time. And people are always saying it, there's the two things that Rugby Australia really need to do. First one is marketing, which I won't even talk about how poor the marketing was for the Wallabies Argentina game. But then, and even the fact that we won. And then the second thing is youth development and development in general. And this is a great example of a way to do it.
Couldn't agree more with everything you said, except for trying to call me an Australian, which is disgusting. And
I was saying you are right to the listeners.
But
to the listeners.
To me, at the start, you had to actually preference that because you knew what it came off like. And no, I am not Australian. Talking about Pacific Nations, there was obviously Pacific Nations Cup games on the weekend as well. Samoa handled Tonga pretty easily, 43-17. And then the USA got the Battle of North America as they beat Canada 28-15. And more Pacific Nations Cup games coming this weekend.
Yep. Speaking of good marketing, Pacific Nations World Cup, every time I see the Pacific Nations Cup logo next to the Rugby World Cup logo, it just makes me so sad. I just don't know how they got it so wrong for the Rugby World Cup logo. It's so bad. It looks like something out of
Rugby World
MS
Cup
Paint.
or Rugby Championship?
Oh, I mean, both. Rugby World Cup is just a green circle.
Yeah, it's not pretty either. Yeah.
Both. But I was specifically referencing there the Rugby World Cup logo, the new one. It shames me that that's the logo for the Australian tournament. They've got to change it between now.
No.
Got to change it.
It's for the Women's 2025 World Cup, so it will change.
Oh, okay.
They change it every Rugby World Cup, and so because it's called also Rugby World Cup 2025 because they're not putting a six associated with it.
Still not great.
What we're saying is if it changes to something good, that they don't really care about the women's game. So if you heard it here first.
Exactly.
Rugby World doesn't care. World Rugby doesn't care about the women's game. But we do. Although we haven't talked about it.
No. Okay, no, they've got two different ones for 2025 and 2027. 2025, they both look very similar though. 2025 is a angled oval gold with RWC in it and gold swirls around it, right? Mm-hmm. It looks okay. Now here I'm hoping that the one for the Men's World Cup for 2027 is a placeholder and they're going to improve upon this, because take the Women's Rugby World Cup logo, get rid of all the golden swirls, change so you just have an angled oval with RWC in it, and change the gold to green, and not even a nice green, like a sort of off fluoro green.
Yeah.
And that's what the Men's Rugby World Cup logo looks like.
See.
I'm hoping it's a placeholder. I'm really hoping it's a placeholder because that is just genuinely shocking.
It has to be. That's a placeholder. It's a placeholder. I think it's a placeholder because that's their logo for their website, but it's not the official logo for the tournament.
I pray every day. I pray that it is, because if you look at the Women's Rugby World Cup logo, that would be better. That would be better to have. It's still not.
But even there,
it's still not great.
They've paid someone a decent amount of coin to decide that was it, and I'm gonna get those images up, and so that everyone knows what we're talking about when you're on the YouTube. But if you're listening to it, just Google the Rugby World Cup 2025, and then you'll see the women's one.
Yeah, Rugby World Cup 2025 and 2027. If you just Google Rugby World Cup, it'll still show you the logo from France, but you got to put the years in there. But yeah, I knew what I was talking about. I knew it was the men's logo, and it's just that because it triggered me that much. It's just bad.
It can't be right. It can't be right.
It can't be. I hope. I pray to the rugby gods that it's not.
Well, let's hope the rugby gods bless our teams this weekend.
Yes.
Because we've got almighty games that we both need to win. I need to win more than anything else, so I don't have to hear any of my South African friends. Mm-hmm. And my message.
There's one last thing to touch on with the Rugby World Championship, and that's the fact that the Springboks have requested World Rugby to look into the HIA situation around the Wallabies in the last Test match. Now, we covered this in the last one. We covered it jokingly because it was just a bunch of ex-players or players that missed out due to injury chatting about it. The fact that South Africa have now made a formal submission on this raises it to a new level of seriousness. Firstly, what the fuck? Like, you saw Angus Bell both in that South Africa test and against Argentina. Why would we ever willingly take him off the field? In that game as well, we still would have had like roughly 20 minutes or so before South Africa deployed the bomb squad, right? In the scrums of the first half, they weren't dominated by South Africa. The Wallabies even got a scrum penalty in that time. So why would we sacrifice 20 minutes of potential penalties along with our best player just to have uncontested scrums for the final 20 minutes? It doesn't make any sense. Second part of that, what low down scummy shit does South Africa need to have been getting up to think that another team would do this? Like, why is your mind going there? You know, what do they say? A guilty conscience? You know, me thinks he does protest too much. You know, something's got to be on their mind to be thinking like, oh yeah, those scheming Aussies, they're definitely trying to get uncontested scrums here. What makes you say that? What do you do? What do you scheme up that you would think another team would do this? You know, that's where my mind immediately goes. Like, no one else in the world is questioning this. No one else, just the South Africans. Just the South Africans. Even then, to be fair, it's a group of hardcore South African fans and some of their players. Most South African fans I've talked to or interacted with couldn't care less. Could not care less what happened. They just think it's part of the game. No suspicion whatsoever. But yeah, it just makes you question what goes on in the building for them to be this suspicious to ask World Rugby to launch an investigation. To me, absolutely ridiculous, and we should launch a counter investigation. What is going on in the laboratory there? What are they cooking up to get around rules? I mean, you already mentioned the Sia Khaleesi thing. You know, I saw some tweets about how Sia Khaleesi will sometimes go off to get checked for injury and then come back on, and it's an unofficial substitution there, basically, and allowing him to come back on, basically giving him a 10-minute rest. Lots of different things like that. So maybe South Africa should be careful. You know, let sleeping dogs lie, because you know, it might come back to bite you in the ass when people start looking at your practices. It
does. It reminds me there was a team, and I played in the Wellington comp. Called out another team for playing an unregistered player, and then they got docked points. And then just previous to them getting docked points, they actually did a review of the other team, and they called out that they had played an unregistered player. So both teams were just doing the old Spider-Man pointing at each other. And then Wellington Rugby just went, "What the fuck is this? You're both idiots. Stop it." And it was like, yeah, don't worry, stop caring about your, you know, everyone's shit stinks. Don't go pointing around it, you know. So just leave it at that.
And you won as well. Like the Springboks won. Like, it was worse for us after we lost our props. Like, you know, we couldn't stop the rolling maul. You know, like, it was worse for us. It was not. We didn't get an advantage from it. We still lost the game. Like, it's, yeah. For me, it makes no sense. It's just trying to rub salt in the wounds, trying to continually empower this aura of theirs. And so, look, yeah, they really need to lose a Southern Hemisphere game, to be honest. So I'm hoping you guys get that this week.
That is us, though. We will be back next week to run you through a rank. Hopefully the Wallabies get found not guilty, and it'll blaze over, and we both get wins. That's all we can say. So, yes, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, reviewing all the games that happened over that weekend. And then we're on to the Bledisloe. Let's go. Thank you for joining us. See you later. Goodbye.
Peace.